Good evening, everybody. Welcome Zoom. I'd like to call the Dover Select Board meeting to order on Tuesday, October 19th at 6:30 p.m. Can everybody hear us okay?
Yep.
Okay, excellent. Thank you, Dan. First thing, public comments. Do we have any in the room first? Anybody else have a comment? Anybody on Zoom? Seeing none, we'll move on. Our first order is police. Jason Perlmutter, resignation, moving forward with part-time position.
So I finally got Jason's letter of resignation. I think a lot of people knew beforehand that they were leaving. But I finally got it. I'll read it if you'd like me to.
If your eyes can handle it.
It can. So it goes, Dear Chief Johnson, please accept this letter as my formal resignation as a part-time police officer with the Dover Police Department effective December 1st, 2021. While I hope to be a part of your team well into the future, I accepted a new position in the resort in Michigan, and in turn will be moving in late October. It has truly been my pleasure to serve the community. Being a police officer has always been a dream of mine, and I am so grateful to have had the opportunity to make that dream a reality for such an amazing department. I've learned so much from this experience, and being able to work alongside you and your officers has been remarkable. Despite having to leave law enforcement profession for the time being, I am certain it won't be forever, as I have such a deep appreciation and respect for the profession. I'm truly proud to have been a part of the Dover Police Department. Can't thank you enough for your leadership, kindness, and support. We are all shaped by our experiences. They deepen our understanding, challenge us to grow, and help us align with who we are. I believe my time as an officer of the Dover Police Department has made me a better person, and for that I am endlessly grateful. Respectfully, Jason. So he is done. Even though he's leaving the end of October, reason why December is because he's worked a couple of shifts and a few tickets. So we're doing tickets by phone. So then this way he has agreed to, any tickets he wrote out there, he'll fight that. And I said, well, you can definitely let us know and put in your time you get paid for it. Just the way Jason is, he goes, I don't care if I get paid or not. So that's the way it was. So.
I have you share that with your department.
I'm going to.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think that's really when I know sometimes morale can be tough. That's a really great vote of confidence.
I was going to do it today, but Jason was there, and I didn't want to. So.
Okay.
So going forward with part-time position, and I quickly had a meeting with my staff today during training. And going forward, as of right now, I want to keep this position open. As of right now, I am not going to put out applications for it. The reason being, looking into more, I may come back to the board and talking with my staff. Becky has been real busy with detective work. As you guys also know, with the way legislature has made things with part-time officers, it is so hard to even now try to find a full-time person, let alone a part-time person. They're either going to want to not work or they're going to want tons of hours. So I'm going to be looking into it and may come back at some point and maybe seek another full-time position. We already have 20 plus hours a week in my budget for a part-time officer. So that money's partially revenue is there and the benefits. But I just wanted to give the board an update on my thinking of this. Also, especially the way the new use of force policy has come out and just the way law enforcement is in general moving forward. If I know that there's someone out there that work. Jason was perfect. I would probably try to go with that route as well. But I think it's just giving you guys a heads up where we're thinking and might try to go one position because things are getting a little bit busier and time-wise. And actually, we've had to call Jason a couple of times this past week to help cover shifts because of stuff that's going on. That's what my thought is.
Thank you, and remember that at budget time, which is also on this agenda tonight.
Yeah.
So, just remember to build that in, because honestly, by the time you get somebody hired, it'll be close to next fiscal year anyway.
It will be because
So, you know, if you want to hire full-time person, so, yeah. We have more discussions about that at budget time.
Yep, absolutely.
Anybody have any questions? Anything else, Randy?
That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Department, hi Travis.
Hello.
A quote for the town hall ramp. A quote.
It is a quote, but it's finalized.
It's not even dated. It's
No.
so $26,000.
Yep, that's what we're looking at. I did ask him rough timeline. He said probably early spring, start of summer, somewhere in there. He could probably give us in there.
Can you, you use the drawings that we had already done as a groundwork?
Yep.
Can you, I know that a lot of the board hasn't seen that. At some future, can we see the cover, how that looks and everything?
Yep.
Yeah, I know.
It's the side door probably, Jeanette. That's not on there. That's something that me and the driver come up with.
So if you could just, we don't expect,
Right.
but if we could get some kind of, to see what it is before they put that up, because
Yep.
I would hate to put it up and have everybody go, oh, you
Yeah.
didn't know what that was gonna be, and, you know, and so, so it's a carpenter and Evans Construction, is that true?
It is true.
Okay.
Evans will do most of the wheelchair ramp out from the front. He'll probably purchase a precast piece from whoever for the side door entry where the ramp currently is.
Mhm.
And that's the area where he was talking about having a company come in and put a nice roof on that will withstand the snow load. Because it does drop off on that side.
Mhm.
And then they were gonna put a set of steps down, and then I was gonna just be able to walk right off the
That sounds.
parking out back, but we wanted to make sure it was rugged enough. So that's not low.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Great, so yeah, at some point you can, I mean, that's not gonna really happen until next spring, summer.
Right.
So, just a rough drawing of what that kind of look is gonna be.
Okay.
So we are aware of that.
Yep.
But, anybody have any questions of Travis on the quote for the ramp? Hallelujah.
I know. Long time coming.
Congratulations. So that's good news that you got somebody, and, I assume you wanna lock this in with.
I would like to, I mean, we could get it done.
Dan, do you have any questions about the ramp?
Nope, not at all. I'm good.
Yeah, that we should.
Okay, so I make a motion to approve the estimate from Evans Construction for the new ramp for the town hall building, the amount of $26,000.
Second,
Anybody else have any questions? All in favor?
aye.
Excellent. I know that wasn't easy to get, so we truly appreciate it.
Yes, thank you.
Do you have anything else for us tonight?
We don't.
Okay, thank you for coming. All right, any other questions of Travis? All right, we're moving on to new business. The Regional Emergency Management Committee appointments. So we've been asked by Wyndham Regional to appoint two representatives to the emergency management group that meets. It's a regional one, and Rich has already been attending meeting, and as our emergency management coordinator, he is basically by default a member, and then they're looking for a second representative. I told Sarah before the meeting, I was interested in doing that. I'd like to know at what level, the region is planning and things like that. And there's a whole. So unless somebody else has a big interest in it, and if you are,
Speak now.
speak now.
Right, we need to reappoint Rich.
He's automatic, but we can include it.
So I make a motion that we appoint Richard Werner as the local emergency management director and Vicky Capitani as the associate or designee. We pronounce a word for all of them. To represent Dover on the WRC emergency program, emergency
Management committee.
Thank you, emergency, oh God, I'm sorry, I'm stumbling so badly.
I second it.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so
What, you were gonna wait for that.
next order is our favorite time of year. It's budget time. So we need to start scheduling some milestones, like for department heads, and also then meetings after department heads have had a chance to submit their budgets to Marco, and then we'll meet with every emergency, so that we have and know what you guys want. So usually we try to do these in November and December. Normally they are daytime meetings if we can. The first meeting where we talk to all department heads takes a full afternoon. Or morning, that's what we think. So does anybody have any conflicts or issues on times within November and early December?
No.
Days that don't work?
How late into November or early November here?
Well, Thanksgiving weekend is just not probable for most people, so we could like do. You guys we need a deadline for you guys to put your budgets together, so could we have that, can you do that before Thanksgiving?
Oh, yeah, I can do that.
Sure. Yeah?
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know if we have any other department heads here, but, and get them to Jeanette and Marco, so we can start building the spreadsheet.
So get it to them before Thanksgiving.
Yeah, like the Friday before Thanksgiving,
That's the 19th.
19th.
I'm leaving next week, I'm gone for.
Oh,
So that's why I got some back.
is there still time in there for it?
Yeah, I can get it, because I got the rest of this week, I got a couple of meetings I can slowly start, and then I got a couple of days I can work on. So.
And the hopefully before road season really picks up and things like that. So if we do that, then let's try to schedule our first meeting we have like a 5-week, there's 5 Tuesdays in November. The daytime meetings work for you or no? It works for our department heads because they call all walkthrough. But it will be all in writing, so it would be kind of, if you have questions and they explain what, things that they're adding or not adding, subtracting or. Huh?
Yeah, can't zoom.
No, Zoom, but it's gonna be, it's a small group.
Vicky.
Yeah?
The only, I'm without any help, so the only time for me is in the afternoon. I don't care what day of the week it is,
Um,
at present.
So if we start at like 1 o'clock, usually we're done, between 3 and 4. Some departments don't take very long, some take longer.
Mhm.
So let's see.
December. How long, once you get the numbers, how long do you need?
Okay. Yeah, I'm just looking at last year. Last year, we had our first meeting in November 20th.
So,
Thanksgiving.
so could we meet on Thursday afternoon, December 2nd,
Sure.
1 o'clock?
With me.
And then you guys all have scheduled time slots, and if you have requests, get them to Jeanette. And then, do we want to meet again? Like that next Thursday, or, so Fridays, I mean, mornings are out for you, Dan, just in general.
Mhm.
Okay.
Thursday's good.
The next Thursday afternoon at the same time?
Yep.
Or it would just be us necessarily, just going over it and going, sitting with Marco and Jeanette. So we could probably do that a little later if you wanted, like 3.
That's fine. That's great.
Okay. Does that work for everybody? And then we'll, if we need another one, we'll have to schedule another one at that point. Get all those dates, Jeanette? 12/2 at 1
So December 2nd at 1, December 9th.
at 3.
Which will just be the board.
And that's when we usually do the capital programs.
Yeah, and we can probably, couple hours, yeah. And then if all department heads can have theirs in by the, the end of the day on the night.
Yeah.
Yeah, everything.
Yep.
Everything. You good with that? Hopefully the rest of your department head colleagues are too, so. You guys, well, Rich is a big one too, and, we have everything else too, the administration. And some are small. And Linda. Great. Okay. Yeah, are we good to that? Okay, I didn't know if you want. Okay, anything else under new business? Okay. Next item is economic development. Before I turn it over to the economic development department, I just want to make sure everybody knows that Eric was named one of the 7 rising stars from Wyndham County. That goes along for under 40. That goes along with the one that they won, that Shannon and Eric won from BDCC. They were then nominated, but the cutoff age was 40. And Eric won. He's one of, and we're very proud of you, Eric. And we're proud of you too. It stinks to get old, right? But it's a huge honor. And so we are very excited that our economic development department is just knocking it out of the park. So.
Thank you very much, Vicki.
No, thank you. I mean, I think this is a big honor.
Thank you.
Yes, it's great for Dover. So now after that, now we're gonna be shown. The grant updates, Eric, please.
Okay, so we heard back on the VORAC and URSA grants. We were not selected to move forward with the VORAC grant, unfortunately, which was the much larger grant for Horace Hill. At this point, myself and the team from SoVTA will be diving back into that budget. We've already done all the work and the planning and laying everything out and started the permitting process. So we're kind of moving forward. So what we're going to do now is take a deeper dive back through that budget and see where we can trim it down for now to get the base project completed and look at the other aspects that could be completed or added after the fact. So we will have that information out to you shortly, hopefully. We were invited to move forward with the URSA grant, which was the $30,000 to expand the parking lot, put pavilions, and take care of the memorial stuff for Phil Bartlett at the town forest. So we will be moving forward with that application here in the beginning of November and getting it in, and I will give you any updates on that as they come.
Well, I guess one is better than none.
The VORAC grant was so unbelievably competitive. The number of applicants they received for that far exceeded what they even expected. And they were looking to fund, a very small number of very large projects with the money they had there. So it's unfortunate, but again, it doesn't leave us. I mean, that was just a shot, right? We were planning on moving forward with Horace Hill with or without the grants, to begin with. So anything like that comes up, we'll obviously take a look at, but this one just didn't come through.
Okay,
Okay.
we know how that happens. You have a question?
No, I'm just,
Anybody else want anything on the grants? The grant we didn't get, what was the amount that we were asking for?
300,000.
So we got,
But that also included a lot of educational programs to be initiated after the implementation of the actual hard trails on Horace Hill, which is why I was saying we're going to take a dive back into that budget. And not to say we want to cut corners, but I think that there's some spots that we can tone the budget back a bit and still have just as amazing a property as we were hoping to have from the start. So that's what I mean when I say taking another look at the budget.
okay, thank you.
Mhm.
No comments or questions? All right, next you have the Hathaway Trail recommendation.
Okay, so after a couple of trails meetings on the topic, our trails committee has made a recommendation to the Dover Select Board that at this time we do not move forward with any repairs on the Hathaway Trail for now. And the reason this recommendation is being made is that our committee and concerned public feel that a much larger discussion based around the use of vehicles on our trails needs to be had before we start maintaining our trails to invite them there.
I read that in the trails minutes, and I hope everybody else read the trails minutes because there was a long discussion about this. And I think that I personally would agree with the wait and see, wait and figure out what all the stakeholders want and try to figure out a fair and equitable way to provide, the trails network that works for everybody. And not just one group or a couple of groups, and really find out what we want to do.
So that-
comments? Yes, Eric.
So that would preclude the previous $10,000 that we agreed to provide to DVSJ to make those repairs, as well as any offers from our friends at Tread Lightly. We just want both of those to be tabled for now while we have this larger discussion. I just want to make it clear that I understand that we did give the $10,000 previously. I think we should reconsider and hold off on that project altogether at this point.
Well, I read in the minutes, Paul, that you said that you thought that it would be okay through the winter, at least once the real snowfall came. Maybe the shoulder seasons would be a little tough with that.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay, I just want to make sure that this is good with you as well. And then stump jumpers.
Yeah, we're still looking at the trail, the season is different. If you think it needs some help, come back and request.
I appreciate the comeback for the single project kind of situation. I think the board does, actually. So thank you. Now, Dan, do you have any comments about this?
No, I don't. I think it's a good idea to hold off on it for now.
Board?
yeah, I think we just, we need to have a big picture of it, overall vision of what we want to have happen, and then the money gets spent, I think, when building.
Anything from the public? All right, so we will hold off. Anything else from the Economic Development Department tonight?
Just to when we get down to FYI and the Trails and Rec Committee on November 9th, that meeting may potentially be moved one day either way. That is actually my birthday and my daughter's birthday, so I may be changing the date of that next trails meeting.
Fine.
So now you're over 40.
It's not.
Still not yet.
We've got a few years to go.
Oh, yeah. Okay, I'm sure you'll let everybody know. And thank you, Jeanette, for including those trails minutes. I think that they're important for the board to read. Well, thank you, Shannon. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, ladies, for keeping us informed. All right, thanks, Eric. Unfinished business. We need to finalize / approve the 2022 health insurance plan rates.
Okay.
Okay, and Jeanette crafted the new motion, which is a rather long motion. First, I think, is there any discussion that we should do anything differently this year? I know that Joe hasn't been involved in the last meeting when we talked about this or this meeting. So, and he's usually one who's quite vocal and involved in
Well,
this.
didn't we find that Blue Cross had lowered their rates?
7.2%. Yes.
So,
Yes. I'm just saying that, it's,
and I think that even if there would have to be a pretty significant difference in cost between MVP and Blue Cross to warrant asking all of the employees to switch their services, or possibly switch their providers. And
yes.
I searched you all the new kind of, that's asking an awful lot.
And administratively.
Yes.
And, we're lucky that there's a year where it's down 7.2%, because in all my years on the board, it has never happened. So, I think we should be grateful that this is, less expensive this year.
Private policy or not.
I know, we just got ours to that, which is interesting, isn't it? Dan, any questions about the insurance?
No, it looks good. Anytime it's cheaper, it's great.
Okay, so, you want me to-
Yes.
okay, I move that we fund the employee health care plan for 2022-23 fiscal year with the Blue Cross Blue Shield Silver Standard Reflective Plan. Premiums in the amount of $611.47 per month for singles. Two-person at $1,222.94 per month. Adult and child or children at $1,180.14 per month. Family at $1,718.23 per month, with HRA funding in the amount of $7,050 for singles and $14,100 for all others, while leaving the out-of-pocket maximum at $1,500 for singles and $3,000 for all others.
I second it.
Anything else before we vote? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
All right, now we get to some new stuff. We have the, huh?
Save the best for last.
Thank you.
Really?
Alternative analysis report from KAS Inc. on the PFAS at Brick Building Town Hall. So this is a very large report. I hope you read it cover to cover, Travis.
Oh, yeah.
Digest it fully?
No, I didn't.
I went to the bottom line, and then, is he joining us?
Yes, Stephen Digger is here from Mass.
Hi, Stephen.
Hello, thanks for having me.
Welcome. So admittedly, this board, probably nobody read the whole report.
I wouldn't expect you to.
It's very complete. So I kind of went to the chase, which is the summary options.
Yeah, I mean, there's kind of the existing system, like kind of the description of what's going on with the existing well, I think is pretty pertinent. And then jumping to, the alternatives analysis. I mean, most of the rest of the stuff is kind of just needs to be there to fulfill the requirements of the report.
So I guess I came to the conclusion that I needed you to explain to me the pros and the cons of the two options.
Okay, so just backing up a little bit, the existing well there is a bit of an older well. And it's got a kind of a history of being impacted by contamination. And there was a well inspection done, which you guys commissioned, or and it found some flaws in the well. So like the well casing and everything was right below it. There's a void in there, and that's actually what's likely. It's about 55 feet down from the surface. And when they lowered the level of the well, they found that that's kind of where all the water is probably coming in. And that well is also a very low yielding well. So one of the options we vetted was, modifying that well and sealing off that fracture, but it was determined by us and the prior engineer who worked on this that that would probably kill the rest of your yield. The yield of that yield is only 1 gallon per minute, which is very low for a well. But that's also the likely source of your contamination with the PFAS and all the other contamination that's been coming into this well. What's in addition to the PFAS, you also have chloride contamination in this well. And it's unknown if that's something in the aquifer or if that's actually just unique to this site, but it's really high. And the only way to get rid of chloride is with reverse osmosis systems. So even without the PFAS, your existing well would have water that wouldn't be safe to drink. So then, when you kind of recognize that the existing well has some fundamental issues, and that's kind of what drove this for us was, there's kind of 2 viable alternatives. One was the POET system, which treats out the PFAS, but with that, you'd have to include additional treatment train to have reverse osmosis systems to counter the chloride and the conductivity. So you'd have a bunch of yearly. So the major con for the POET system alternative was that the town would then be committed to perpetually treating the problems with the existing well and also committed to sampling every year. And then whatever standards may change with that over time, because, or the other option is to drill a new well and hope that you get out of the PFAS plume. I don't know if I could share my screen or not, if that's an option, but either way, to the north of the site, there's 2 wells that we sampled that were residential wells. And one was to the north west and the other was to the northeast. And the northeast well was actually down gradient of the suspected source of PFAS contamination, which I believe that was, let me just pull it up. That's the Fisher supply well. So the Fisher supply well is basically northeast of the site, but it's also downhill of our suspected source of contamination. And there's the Bartlett well. Those were both non-detect. So the location we're looking to put the proposed well would be basically in line with those 2, in between and in line with those 2 non-detect wells. And they should be far enough away where we don't have to do any interference testing with them to develop the new source as part of it. So kind of the decision comes down to whether you want to invest a bunch of resources and money in perpetuity into an existing water supply source that's got fundamental issues, and hasn't been used for drinking water in a while, based off my understanding. Talking to people in the library and stuff, it seems like there's been issues with that well for a while, and it's probably due to the chloride. Anything under 250 milligrams per liter for chloride, people typically don't drink the water unless you treat it, and it's above the standard anyway. And you can actually have health effects from chloride. So that was sort of the question and the dilemma here is whether you keep chasing and treating contamination with the existing well, or you try to get out of the sources of contamination and try to develop a better source and hope that you don't have to deal with PFAS and chloride. And I'll admit, I struggled with this. The chloride, and another thing that kind of swung it was that we did sucralose testing, which is artificial sugar testing, and that doesn't happen naturally. So we detected a small hit of that in the well, which indicates, it's not definitive, but it indicates that there's a likely connection or a potential connection, a hydraulic connection between the on-site wastewater disposal field and the existing well. So once that became an issue, we really started to dive into it. 'Cause you're like, that's the kind of recycling we don't want to do. And it's kind of an intolerable condition. And to reinforce that, there was also nitrite and nitrate levels, or at least nitrate levels. I think it's nitrate levels that were above 1 to 3 milligrams per liter in that range for a while. It's dropped out since, but that was like, I think in the 2000 to 2010 range. So those are elevated, but still below standard, but they still indicate human activity is interfering with the well. So it appears to us pretty clearly that existing well has issues. It's not a good source of water to begin with. And it kind of comes down to the fundamental decision of whether you want to keep investing treatment resources into that well or drill a new one. So to me, it seems like there's merit to drill a new well with or without the PFAS, and the PFAS and everything kind of throws it over because the monitoring for PFAS provides yearly costs that'll eventually exceed the cost of the well. Unfortunately, what's working against you guys with these costs is that the cost to put in a well jumped drastically from when the prior engineer Merrill, from when the prior engineer did his costing, and now, I mean, well casing's 3 times what it was when you guys got the original costs. So unfortunately, that's something you guys have to also put into your factors here. But yeah, that's so. I mean, it is a feasible alternative to do the poets and do the reverse osmosis systems, but my general recommendation is to try to get out of the contamination, try to develop a better source of water, hope we can even get more yield, and then get out of under the thumb of the state when it comes to all this monitoring and stuff you're gonna have to do in perpetuity if that's an option for the town.
So I have a question. So if we drill this well in the location, and can there be testing for PFAS before we start all the plumbing of how long do you have to wait to start testing to see if it's a good, clean well source?
I'll talk to the well driller about that, but I don't think we need to do all the trenching and everything. I think we could drill the well, get it, purge it, and just discharge it to the ground and then take samples from it. So we could probably do it immediately and then test it again in a couple months. One of my recommendations as well is to resample the Bartlett and Fisher wells just to confirm that they're still non-detect. And also test them from chloride as well, just to make sure that it's not an aquifer issue, that it's solely just a site issue. You guys may know better than us, but based off of some of the interviews we conducted for the environmental work that we conducted on site, there was some people who said there was some salt and snowplow equipment that were stored there. I've heard conflicting stories on that from other people I've talked to. But if that's the case, that would lend to believe that the source of chloride could be from the site, because that's typically related to salt storage problems.
Okay, so your recommendation would be to drill a new well?
Yes. And I understand, and you do have to understand that there is some gamble with that. So, I mean, it's not 100%. I think we've done the amount of due diligence we can and looked at this. The Fisher and Bartlett wells, and I could show you on a map, but they're on they're somewhere buried in that report as well. But if I have it up on my screen if needed. But yeah, I can share my screen, so I'll show it to you right now. You guys see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, so where my mouse is right now, this is the proposed well we're looking at. And this right here is the Bartlett well, and this is the Fisher well. So if you kind of draw a line between the two, the proposed well will be north of that. And these lines here are contours, and this is downhill. And we believe the suspected sources of contamination are, it seems like the most likely one is the town hall wastewater system, and it appears there's a separate trench for that. And then here's the kids in the country one. Between these potential sources of PFAS contamination and the proposed well site, there's a ridge of bedrock. So that should hopefully help protect the well from potential sources of contamination, at least from the surface. You know, there could be some odd, you know, crack or fissure that does something underground that we don't know about. I mean, my guess is this well is going to be 400 feet deep when you drill it. So who knows what's going on below ground, but it appears that there's some reasonable likelihood to believe north of the site is clear. All the detections we've gotten so far have been from basically from the site itself, east and west and south. So we've had some detection in the Lanker well, in the Clark well, and the Clump well, and the on-site well, of course, and then the on-site wastewater systems. And there's the only soil sample we had that had a detection was behind the town hall. So, I mean, everything's pretty low levels, and we're talking parts per trillions, which I have a very hard time wrapping my head around, just practically speaking. You know, you get over 1 million or 1 billion, I really just have a hard time envisioning what that really is, just in my mind, but the standards are what they are. And, you know, because the detection limits are so low and we're talking about parts per trillion, you know, the source isn't quite determined definitively, but the most likely explanation is something happened at the town hall that caused it, either cleaning supplies or something that was dumped down the drain or out the back door that may have had PFAS in it. That's the story we're looking at now.
So if this well that we would drill comes back with PFAS, are there other options for the town to find a water source?
So one of the options we looked at was combining with another public water source. The only one that is close by is the school up the hill from here, which is, so here's the daycare. And here's the Dover Town School. If they have excess capacity, which I haven't called this water system operator, but looking at their numbers, it didn't look like they probably did, but assuming they did, or if we could drill a new well over here somewhere on school property, which I know is different from town property most of the time. But we may be able to run a line over and you have a clean source, but that would be really expensive. I mean, that's
Yeah.
a 6-figure, 7-figure project probably. Otherwise, not really.
I was just wondering, I mean, and we're lucky that we own property around these buildings.
Yeah, I mean, unless there's another location, there is, you know, kind of a stream down here, I believe. So the closer you get to that, the more soil you get. One of the issues where we're looking at is bedrock's pretty close to the surface, and that's why you guys are getting pretty low yield. There's a lot of the surface water is just running off, doesn't really kind of pool. So anyway, this whole area's got pretty low yield. I mean, from all the, seems like once we get here, that the school found a spot where they're getting 20 gallons per minute. But a lot of the wells around here were in the 1 to 2 gallon per minute range. I think the Fisher well was actually less than 1 gallon per minute. And I couldn't find anything on the Bartlett well for them, but in general, a lot of these wells were low yield. So,
All right,
I mean,
I have a question from our highway commissioner.
yes.
Did you get to see the map from Merrill from where his proposed well site was? How far is it from where yours is?
His was a little bit closer,
Okay.
but not too much. He
Okay.
did a pretty good job. Overall, we just want to move it a little further away from a few different things to
Further
avoid.
down over that hill. Okay.
Yeah. So,
I walked that with them. That's why I was kind of looking for a rough idea because I'm probably the one that's going to be getting quotes. So
yeah. We met out there. right? That was,
Yeah,
yeah, okay, yeah. So, yeah, I mean, it's pretty close to where he had it, just
Okay.
maybe another 40, 50 feet away, I'd say,
Okay.
but same kind of general area.
Yep. Yeah, and that's all wooded.
yes.
It hasn't been used for anything. It was a nature trail when I was in school there, but that's not been used at all for anything, as far as I'm aware. And Randy was in school there too.
But Randy was like in diapers.
Okay, so the price tag for the well estimate is $70,000.
Yeah, and that's not having the town do any work. So that's just an amount that you could hopefully get a grant for, and then maybe if there's a match, in-kind contribution could be some of the work that the road commissioner is planning to do, hopefully. Depends on the grant. But yeah, that's about what we're assuming the town does no work, and that CAS does the sampling, which doesn't necessarily have to be us doing the sampling and testing and stuff.
Sarah, how much of an investment do we have to make before we can confirm that we're going to have a clean water sample coming out of it? Out of that 70,000, how much do we have to spend before we even know for sure that we're not going to have the same problem?
Well, you'd have to drill the well and pull a sample, which is most of it. I could break that out though and provide it for you guys.
I mean, is it like 75%?
I would guess it's in the 60 to 75%, but let me check here.
When we got the earlier quotes, there was an option for a 6-inch well and 8-inch well, sealed with even more casing. And it's quite a bit difference in price, so it's a $10,000 difference in price.
Because the prices have gone up.
Yeah, my quotes are from last year.
Yeah.
Pretty old.
Yeah,
So the thing is, okay. It may not be as bad.
The other thing to consider too is
My guess is it'd be somewhere in the $20,000 to $30,000 range to just drill the wells, assuming the well driller provides a temporary pump, and we run some temporary electricity out there from the library or daycare building.
all right, so in the 30,000 to basically drill the well and see if it's clear. You guys, is there something else you want to say about this?
yeah, that the reason that they did give us both options was because this well feeds the town hall as well. It wasn't just service stuff.
Yeah,
That
that was,
isn't a high usage.
it was in the report here
But
though.
it is,
It contributes,
Yeah.
and if they were both operating a lot during the same time periods, we could have a problem under the current source.
Currently, we looked at it as just a permitted flow for our design considerations. I reached out to the state on multiple occasions to get clarity on that, to see if it's just a permitted flow or if we needed to account for the town hall flow on top of that. It seems that the precedent has been set in the past that it's only one or the other, and they're not used at the same time or on the same days. It would change the cost of the source development if both are considered as if both design flows are considered, because you go from a 2 gallon per minute maximum daily, or like a 1 gallon per minute daily demand, to just over 2. And when you go just over 2, your circle, this 200-foot circle, becomes a 500-foot circle, where you have to then, which would incorporate the Fisher and Bartlett wells, and you'd have to do a 36-hour test on them and this well to make it to develop it and make sure that your well's not going to affect theirs. So we're going to push hard for keeping the status quo, at least for now, in my opinion. It's the way to go.
Yeah, and the town hall usage is definitely, does not mirror the same usage as the library daycare building. It usually is in most of the time, off times from that, so. Scott, did you have a question?
I'm just trying to understand this whole process. If we went to go drill and we spent $30,000, we'll just say, I know it could be different, and you found that there was PFAS in there, that there was sucralose, or most likely not, because we probably didn't contaminate out there, or that it was only yielding less than a gallon a minute. Then what? Is it just, we have to go to that $30,000 is no, or are we saying, well, we're going forward with it anyway, because that new one is going to be better and easier to fix and monitor than what we have?
So it's pretty likely there's a way to get you over a gallon per minute, which is a pretty low threshold. It's either going to be a deeper well where there may be some hydrofracking that needs to occur. There's a well company that does zone hydrofracking that keeps it more specific to an area, which is what we'd want to do because of the potential of, you don't want to crack up the bedrock and then allow a bunch of contamination. And so we'd want to keep it specific to a zone. But there is, it's likely you'll at least get 1 gallon per minute. And with that, something I failed to mention, based off of the instantaneous peak demand, which is basically, and I don't, this is something you have to bring up at the state. I'm just following their rules, but it's essentially if you turned on every fixture at the same time, what your flow would be. And there's various calculations based off of that, your well yield, how much storage you need. And that also looks at, that excludes fire storage, which there is some fire suppression systems in this over the furnaces only. But right now, the water system does not have adequate storage for a 1 gallon per minute well. And it probably wouldn't for whatever comes out of this. My recommendation in my report is that as long as we get 1 gallon per minute or more, that storage requirements be postponed until the town can do more of a remodel in that heater room where the current water system is, because there's really just no room for storage inside. Like you have 5 pressure tanks, and then here's sort of the water system, and not sure if I took pictures, but there's 2 giant old furnaces in there. And until they get upgraded, I don't think you're going to have any room for water storage. The other thing is there's 2 kind of large oil storage tanks in another room that for those old boilers or furnaces that that also could be that you can maybe get rid of one of the oil tanks and replace it with a water storage tank or something. So my recommendation is that the water storage requirements be postponed until other things happen in that building that the town can plan it into. Otherwise, you'd have to have outdoor storage, which really isn't a good idea in Vermont. Even if you bury it, it's kind of not a great idea. So I haven't heard feedback from the state. I think they'd go for it, but just putting it out there that that's something that needs to be on the long-term radar. The only other thing is that the town hall, the water line comes from the water system from the daycare and goes back underground and then comes back into the town hall. And that means that you have to provide disinfection again in the town hall since it goes underground. The state's worried about, that being a potential source of contamination. So you're going to need to add UV or something into the town hall building, but that's a lower level expense. That's something you may want to do at some point anyway. But anyway, those are just other things that were noted in this report that are part of the cost estimates that we provided. Not the storage, but the UV and things like that.
So if we move forward with recommending the, with the new well, at least trying to drill a new well, we have to get a permit and we'll have, do you foresee how a timeline that we might be able to just think about for this, when this could all happen between the permitting and getting a well company in and doing all this?
Yeah, in the report, I estimated spring 2022 as a likely time. You could drill in the winter. I was just kind of assuming that if you went for a grant and things of that nature, that it may take, or just even lining up these funds in general, may take a little while. And so that's kind of the timeline I put into the report. Well drillers are about 2 months booked out right now in general. So, I mean, that puts you into December anyway. So it's only another, 3 or 4 months at that point.
Does the board have any questions? Dan?
I don't think there's any question that we should do anything but have a new well, because I think we're going down a rabbit's hole with this old well, and it's worth the chance of spending $30,000 to find out if we can have decent water with a good yield.
Yeah, and to supplement what we're doing, I'll look into what it would be just to do a well only, test the well, just for your benefit. Sorry.
Okay. Can you hear us now?
I can
Guys,
hear
we
you.
just lost something.
Lost the audience.
Can you hear us, Stephen?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay, do
last
need
thing
to
I
turn
heard
it up
was
on both speakers. Okay. Now can you hear us?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Do you want me to? Do you want me to turn my computer?
So the last thing I heard was, I think his name was Dan, state that, he thought it was a good idea to move forward with a new well, that we were chasing a rabbit hole with the old well. And I basically
That's
said,
awesome.
Yeah. Do you want me to? Is that okay? It is still recording. We were just joking about how ancient this computer is. Oh, but you only have one USB.
We need video on the audience.
I think I broke it.
Can you hear me? Light is on
Yep.
now.
You can hear
It's
us.
not flashing though.
That's right, they can hear us.
Okay. All right. So yes, that's what Dan said. So we did lose our video for about 3 or 4 minutes. And does anybody else have any questions? Jeanette?
Where we're gonna be doing the new ramp on the town hall. probably about the same time as this is happening. Is that going to affect it at all? Putting in a new handicap ramp?
Where does the,
Can you hear me?
well, at this point, we need to know where the water line comes into the town hall so that we, opposite side of the building. Okay,
Yeah, it right now comes in right where the well is. And the well's about 10 feet outside the heater room.
okay, so it should not be in the construction zone.
No.
Okay, all right. Any questions from anybody? Does anybody want to make a motion to move forward with something?
I make a motion.
Make a motion that we begin the process of drilling a new well, in the location recommended by KAS. And proceeding with the project subject to results of water testing in the proposed well location.
And the neighboring wells.
Dan,
Second,
you can't hear him. You can't hear,
I second it.
you can't hear them. Dan, we can't hear you. So we're working on it.
Can you hear me?
Dan, say something.
I'm saying
You can hear
second,
us.
Okay, I was.
second.
So Dan, can you hear me? 'Cause I can
Yes, I
hear you.
can.
Okay,
I
I don't
can
think
hear
they
you.
can, I don't think they can hear us.
Oh.
So the one thing I want them to add
We
is
can't
just
hear them.
to also,
Hey,
Yes.
just since you can hear
But
us,
we
you did a very
couldn't
nice
hear it
job.
when it was when Jeanette had it on her laptop. Yeah, I know, but when it was sitting here,
so when they resolve this, Dan, just that we're gonna want to test the Bartlett and Fisher wells again.
Well, Stephen, thank you. You guys, chaos has been awesome. That was very thorough and much appreciated.
You're welcome.
We can't hear you, so.
so
Just so you know.
Assuming you put the price in.
So just by that.
Scott, can you hear us?
Entertain bids again for a new well.
yes.
Start the process rolling.
Vicky, that number that you were saying was 3 times what the original one was?
It's like a $30,000 well, yeah. No, it's with all the testing included, there's a lot included. It's definitely a lot more. And if you have 400 feet of well, there's a lot of well casing. All right,
Maybe by the spring it'll go down in price. Maybe. Like health insurance.
we're not sure if we're gonna be able to hear you guys again.
You could write stuff and hold up signs. The chat function's turned off.
Right, we know.
Yeah.
No, we turned it off completely. Speakers not,
It says that the microphone is the speakers.
oh,
Hey, luck.
She's not too old to understand this stuff. Does the sound only work if Jeanette's touching it?
no. No, it must be that she's got the cables in and it's knocking it.
Yeah, I don't know how.
Okay, so, we're not gonna be able to get, it so that we can hear the audience on Zoom. So let's,
Okay.
Dan, if you will signal if we want to, we haven't voted on the motion yet. Okay. So. Who's Dover audience?
That's.
Oh, that's that, okay. All right, and our camera is gone too. So, Dan, you can hear us? Put up your thumb.
Can hear you and I can see you now.
Oh, we can hear you. All
That's great.
Good.
right,
We're excited.
Not ideal, but we can hear.
We're excited.
so we have a motion and a second. Is there any other comments about proceeding with the new well, Stephen?
Can you hear me?
Yes,
Okay, I would just recommend that that's contingent on retesting the Fisher and Bartlett wells and confirming that those results come back preferable, and then moving forward with the actual well drilling. But
Okay, so I'd like to amend the motion to say that prior to drilling the Fisher and Bartlett wells be retested and the new well proceed based on the results of that testing.
That's to rescind my previous.
no, you can just
Okay.
second the
You can
amendment.
second the amendment.
amended.
Yes.
I'll second the amended.
Anything else,
Motion.
Stephen, that we should include?
no, I think that's good. And I do appreciate you guys, working with us on this. We appreciate it, and thank you.
All right, seeing no other comments or questions, all in favor with the motion?
Aye.
Thank you.
Unanimous. Thank you. Thank you
And
very
you-
much.
You're welcome. Have a good night, everybody.
You too. Next item is liquor control.
Okay, so I make a motion, we go into the Board of Liquor Control.
Second.
Socks. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, we have a special event permit for Mgmt LLC for November 6th from 1 to 8 PM at the Dover Forge for a SoVTA fundraiser. And this is one that we don't even sign because the town clerk signs it, but he likes us to approve it.
So I make a motion, we approve the special event permit for Mgmt LLC on November 6th from 1 to 8 PM at Dover Forge. It's a fundraiser for SoVTA.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We'll take a motion to move out of the Board of Liquor Control.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So we have the consent agenda, which includes approving the minutes of October 5.
Make a motion to approve the minutes of October 5th, 2021.
All but Joe.
Okay.
Any changes?
No.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We have the warrants to approve in the amount of $1,966,665.93.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion about our 2 million in warrants? 1.7 of which is the school payment to, went to River Valleys. All in favor? Aye. We, FYI, our Sullivan and Powers audits are here, so everybody take that home and look at it. The Planning Commission will meet on October 25th, and the Trails and Rec Committee may meet on the 9th, or that day may be moved per Eric. Anything else for a liaison reports? Okay, I am not aware of an executive session.
Motion to adjourn.
I'm adjourning at 7:40.
Okay, there we go.
7:39, sorry.
39.
All right, thanks to everybody for coming, and thank you, Shannon, for your
Diligent.
diligence on that.